Guys, we're going to be covering Power BI today. And we're going to try to make this a regular thing in the middle of the week like this, um, right around the lunch hour. Okay. And today is going to be like a beginner level video that me, Kurt, and Rick desperately need. And to be honest, probably most of my viewers here on YouTube, they do a lot of power apps, but if they feel like me, as they always have this sense that, hey, I really need to learn Power BI. So happy to have you on again, Aaron. Thank you so much, and I'll let you go with whatever you have prepared for us today.
Sure. Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks, everybody. So glad to be here. So we're going to cover how to use Power BI. And my style of approaching this is going to be a mix of the very human and business side of things and the technical side. I want to cover this in a practical way, in a way that makes sense, in a way that sort of gives you hope about using the tool. Because I hear that a lot, what you just said. I want to use this, but can I? What's the value? How much time is it going to take? Is it worth it? So those are some of the things I want to address. I've got a very visual slide deck. We're going to talk about themes and concepts and components of Power BI, and then we're going to jump into the tool, and we're going to use data that I like using. It's going to be haul truck data, so it'll be costing, and just as sort of a real world example. And Kurt, Darren, sorry, I think I sent you those links to those things. So maybe on your YouTube channel afterwards, we can, post the data source and the link and resource. So it's up to you, but just a thought
Absolutely.
if people want to follow along.
You know
All
what I'll
righty.
do is I'll go over to school. Let me share that link one more time to our school community. And you know what? I'm going to I think I already have a post out there for this session. And what I'll
Uh-huh.
do is I'll post that Excel file so they can follow along. I'll do that right now in the next few moments. So you guys will see that. And then I'll also paste the chat here in the live stream chat in a few moments. So very good.
Awesome. So how do you use Power BI? You use it to explore. This is our theme. I like to set any trainings that I do. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a trainer, a consultant, 15 years in the field now with big data research. My last 5-6 years have been involved with mining. And so that's why I'm going to use that example just as a current one. But we're going to really talk about how Power BI is an exploration tool. When I'm in trainings, I always like to set the tone like we want to be fearless. Do not worry about breaking things. This is about learning and getting exposed. So I've tried to put really happy pictures with analytics to set the tone and to set us up so we can really feel confident going forward, even into something new. So my first rule for how to use Power BI is pivotal. You use it profitably. You need to, if you want to get anywhere as a data leader in the world of Power BI, my understanding and my experience shows me that you've got to be able to articulate the value and the profit that it holds for you professionally and personally. And maybe you don't need to share the personal side in a business setting, and oftentimes the value is recognized. But what I'm meaning by this, and I'll break it down, is you can look at the professional profitability of Power BI in terms of how can a business use this? Do we want to track things in real time? Do we want to look at inventory, costing, sales? Do I want to track project management things? There's sort of the obvious use cases, but there's also what is the professional profitability for me as an individual who's trying to make a career. And this is the biggest point I would make on this slide, is that there's massive, massive benefit to your earning, to your potential to move in an organization, on a team, to change industries with a tool like Power BI, because it's so in demand. And so I want you to always be considering how to use it is in a way that clearly adds value. And because it's a valuable tool, it's immensely profitable. So I kind of touched on the profitability professionally. Personally, one of the things I want to talk about is there's a lot of transferable skills. So all of the things that you might bring in as a developer are pretty much going to be applicable here. The concepts, the framework. If you're new to this completely, like what's data modeling? What kind of sources would I use? If you're totally brand new, this is just a great tool to start learning on. So it's personally profitable because you're going to get skills that you can monetize and that will help you to get recognition on a team potentially. Also, able to transfer out of Power BI. Like I feel encouraged that I could jump over with you guys to Power Apps, knowing the skills, because these Microsoft tools, there's a lot of transferability, right? And that's a personal confidence booster for me as an individual who wants to be current in the field. Now let's get into it, right? How do you use Power BI? You need to know which tools to use and when. Power BI is this big term. It's not one thing. It's not. It's many things. Power BI includes a desktop tool. That's your developer tool. So the value of the development tool is that it's saved on it performs on your local machine. It's easy to use. It's user friendly. Kind of feels like PowerPoint and Excel. So a lot of business users feel comfortable right away. But it also includes the Power Query editor. So you're getting transformations, extraction, transformation load in a way that's, you can get into the code. There's a GUI for it, but it's very developer intensive. I'm so impressed the more I learned about the M code. I'm working on a technical book now with Pact, and it's all about the M code. I think it's going to be the first book, and that's the language used in the Power Query editor. I finally understand OAuth, like from a connectors. I was like, what? I've been working with that in teams that use it for years, and I knew the words, but I didn't understand how clearly it functioned. And just knowing how many connectors you have, knowing your options. If that's your end of the development spectrum, that's your value add, right? And there's also the reporting there. So are you a data storyteller? Where's your gifting, your interest? What does your organization or your leader or your manager need from you? And that's going to lead you to that tool, right? Where are you going to focus? Front end and back end development, a lot of it takes place in the desktop. The next component of Power BI is the service. That's what is Power BI in the cloud, baby. That's where all of that Azure capability starts coming into play. You can scale this to the individual level with a free license and get comfortable with the service, but you can also be at the enterprise level and have massive, huge solutions that are integrated between departments where you're sharing, all that back end work that you've done upstream. And Azure's really robust and ties right into the Power BI service, which ties to the Power Platform and all the tools, right? So knowing, again, where the components are and where's the value add. Are you proposing this or using this because of sharing capabilities, because you like the security features, because maybe you want partial incremental refreshes on reports and you need to manage that because otherwise maybe you don't have the performance, right? So there's so many pieces and parts that you do want to learn about. And I would say, jump in, whatever sparks your interest, just go in and start learning. There's Power BI for mobile. And then this came up was the report builder. So if you're into or your company needs traditional reports that are picture perfect PDF style, they're called paginated. There's a report builder. It's not as interactive as the typical Power BI reports that you can create, which may feel like a website, right? But they serve a purpose and a value. A lot of organizations really like those. The last thing I would just mention here is the component is the report server. So this is going to be your on-premises solution. So as opposed to where you publish through the cloud, the Power BI service, this is where your on-premises folks are going to need to go. So when aligning with where do I use Power BI, how do I use it, I would think, is this individual or am I using this for my organization? Is this small scale, like it's a team, or am I using this at the enterprise level? Is it a piece of a big solution or is it a standalone solution, right? Do my end users ultimately want to get this information on their phones? Do they like it in a report that's very static that they can print out and post? Do they want to interact with it and do analysis on the fly? Those are going to lead me to different parts of the tool. And it's exciting that there are so many flexible options, in my opinion. All right, so today we're going to focus on the desktop. That's basically where we're going to mostly be. I put a hammock because it should feel like a breeze for us. If you have any questions along the way, I know I've been talking long. Feel free to interrupt me, by the way. Just as an overview,
I have a question.
I stole.
On that last slide,
Yeah.
if I master Power BI, would I be able to retire to a place that looks like that?
You can. No, this is not a joke because I'm a digital nomad, except I picked like a harsh, cold climate. Yes, you can go to the beach. There's people that work all over the world because you can work remotely. If I have my machine.
One of the top three things I like about working with Erin is she comes up with these really cool words to describe things. A digital nomad. I've never heard that in my life. What a great phrase. I'm a digital nomad.
I would love. I'd love to take credit. It's a phrase. There's actually a great website called, you should look at it, digitalnomad.com. Because I was kind of, well, millennial, I'll confess. Like, I was a little bit, I'm into the whole idea of remote work anywhere, plugging in with teams and co-working. And so I looked into this, like, which countries are the best for expats and what, and I actually got into Power BI after coming back from a stint in Haiti, France, and the Dominican. And I had to jump back in and rebuild a career, but I didn't want to go into media and do business research. I did, but not in that way. I wanted to make more money. I wanted something that I was like, in 3 to 5 years, can I make, 6 figures? Where am I capped? And this was just an obvious answer because it was a picture. They had this idea. So appealing.
I like it.
Isn't it?
So you didn't come up with it, but you certainly made it profound. So there we go.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And you're so sweet. Like, you're so encouraging. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay.
Let's stay encouraged.
I'm with the program. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I stole this and their logo's on here. So I'm not claiming this. I thank you, Planet Technologies. Let me acknowledge you. I thought it was a great picture that generally describes the life cycle. I didn't want to take time to recreate it because I liked it. So start at the top. I mean, I want to know, is this similar to Power Apps? You basically do some discovery, and that's where we're going to start. What are my requirements? This is the BI part. Like, what do I need to make? What is required of me? What do I want to know? What's the purpose? Who's the audience? And then you start putting your pieces together. And I believe Power BI is a very great prototyping tool. I use it for that. I frequently will run ahead of the big scale solutions with a Power BI because I can get there faster, and then we can work through the steps and translate those maybe into SQL or a bigger. So prototyping, and then you have your deliverables.
Hold on, Eric. If we could just stop right there for a second.
Yeah.
So what I think I understand you saying is that, for instance, like if I need to build a project in Power Apps maybe, and I'm wanting to look at data, and I'm going to have to build this data. Of course, when you start a program, you're always thinking about the report at the end. So really what you're doing is you're taking a look at the data through Power BI in a discovery type fashion. So that could help you actually determine some of the requirements for your Power App development. Is that what you're saying?
It absolutely could. And I want to show that, discovery this is why I go back to explore, because discovery is not like phase one. Discovery is part of every phase in Power BI. And the way the tools lined up, you're able to really look at your data and understand it and clean it up. And then we get into wrangling, right? And then if you want to visualize it through Power BI, great. But if you want to stop there and it's your preparation tool, great. I have engineers that's what they do. They're not going to change their lives and their personalities and their skill sets to focus on making gorgeous reports. They don't care. They want the numbers quickly, easily automated. And that's what they use things for. And it helps them with their processes. There's really no wrong way to use Power BI. That's why I want to expose is don't think of it as one thing.
Right. So I guess I'm ashamed of myself at this moment because I consider myself to be a data expert, right? But yet I know nothing about Power BI. Is that shameful or what?
No, there's no shame.
Because look, this is something that
I think it is.
Yeah, it absolutely is, Darren. So you think about it. We try to pose as these database people, but we know data. Darren and I know data very well. But
you do.
But the thing of it is to be able to use this as a major tool for data. If you're going to be an expert in data, you probably should have a good knowledge of this Power BI tool. Then you open up my mind a little bit on this, Aaron.
Ooh, I'm glad to hear that. I think so because it's also great learning ground.
Yeah.
The concepts, data model, and it's transparent. It's so easy to use. And then, so it's sort of that final step, we have reports. And then I like this because if you look on the side, there's that thumbtack and it says long-term support. I will say, what are your goals long-term or short-term? Is this a one-off? Is this something that needs to live on? Will it be maintenance? Those are things I'm sure you think about with Power App development. They're important for Power BI too. Just as a note. So I want to conceptualize this. And like I said, we're just going to keep getting into it. Data discovery. I made a picture of the Amazon with this one because I thought it was kind of perfect, right? We'll go there. It's the jungle.
Digital
you don't
nomad.
always know what you feel it. So my view on data discovery is it's an ongoing gap analysis. where are we at? Where do we need to be? And you really have to be clear on both. And you want to really know, where do you need to be? What's the end goal here? Is it to be in a better spot with my data wrangling? And that's just it. Do I need to create a great report? Who's my audience? Do I need it to be interactive? Does it need to be static? All of those kinds of things come into data discovery, because we need to understand our source systems, and we need to understand what is the difference between how this data starts out and how it needs to end up, right? So that gap analysis is really important. And I tend to think of things as, what's the value added and how easy or difficult is it? And then I prioritize. And those are ongoing conversations that we have, right, with our stakeholders, with ourselves in our head, if we're sort of doing a project that we just want to do. Data discovery takes place outside of the tool, and it takes place inside of the tool. It is ongoing. Another part of Power BI, how to use it. You use it as part of your requirements gathering in your design process. Where does it fit in? Once I know what is needed. So for example, we're going to do haul truck costing in a scenario where, say, for example, I want to do an entire report for a mine that has an open pit, an underground, a processing facility. And what I have so far is haul truck information. And I want to produce a costing report. Like, that's the scenario I came up with for the example we're going to do. Those would be some of my requirements. So what am I going to need in there? We can talk through that. Like, maybe my end users need to filter by year or date. Maybe it always needs to be a rolling number. Maybe, there's the metrics themselves are very specific with the definitions. Those kinds of things that you organize and design and get ready. And then when I think of design, I think of architectural design, which you guys probably think of. So again, where does this fit into my whole architecture for my solution? But also, I'm talking about design for the report. So data storytelling design. So plan the work the plan. That's how you use Power BI. It's see a pattern with other projects, right? It's not so different. You're going to use the Power Query Editor as your pocket ETL tool. So continuing with the data discovery, you pull it out, easy to use. You don't even need the internet because it's on your machine. Your constraints are your memory, basically. But
did I miss? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
What is ETL? Did I?
Extract, transform, load. So, and I think now they switched.
Wow.
Question,
like,
Darren. That
Yeah.
me, and I didn't even catch it. And I'm usually good at that. What in the heck are you talking about? You were talking Chinese or something there.
Kurt, you should have known
probably
that.
am.
I knew what it was all the time. I just didn't say
Rick
anything.
knew. Rick wasn't even hesitating, man. Didn't break a sweat on it. I think I got a bead of sweat right there. I think I got a bead of sweat right there from that, Aaron.
No, this is a picture of the Arctic. Look it. You just take a polar plunge and you're okay. Don't sweat. No shame, no sweat, guys. All right. So fair point. ETL, take it for granted. Extract, transform, load. And I think now it's like ELT. Like they sort of extract, load, transform actually makes a lot more sense. But extraction or extract, I need to get to my data source. This is the connector thing. There's over 200 natively available, but there's custom APIs, all kinds of things. You can get as custom as you want. And that's a business value. Combining multiple data sources easily without having to get into massive architecture. On your machine right here, right now. So I could point to a SQL database. I could also point to a Power BI shared data set that lives in Azure that maybe somebody from finance produced. I could add Excel files, CSV files. I can pull from the web. All of these things in the same report. That's huge. Mashing up is a massive benefit with this. And Power Query Editor is how we do it. So within the Power BI desktop, we have a tool called the Power Query Editor that you would find it's in Excel, basically similar functionality, and SSAS. Yes. So SQL Server, SQL Server, I'm gonna like SSR report solution, analytics solution, but I always mess the last part of the acronym up. But it's built on SQL Server, analytics. So it's powerful. It's designed to mimic the same functionalities as SQL. And so you're getting, again, all that data transformation is massively significant. Then you can also, within your model, work with what's called DAX. And DAX stands for Data Analysis Expression Language. And This is where your mathematics get done. And I put a polar bear in this one because it's powerful. Yeah. See? Polar bear, powerful.
I just got to put this in here. Polar bears look so cute and cuddly, and Coca-Cola uses it as branding. But I've learned they're actually extremely dangerous. You can't outrun them. They're a complete meat eater. They what?
Oh, yeah. Where would you outrun them? First of all, it's icy and wet.
Thanks for that, Darren. That reminds us, don't pet polar bears.
Don't feed the bears. You will feed the bears if you get near them, though, because you're going to be the food.
But you got to be smarter than the average bear.
You have to play dead. They say never outrun a bear. Like, I watched this horrible documentary. It's like 10 cases, and like the only people that lived were the ones that played dead. So my conclusion and their conclusion was like, you will not survive if you run from a bear. You need to play dead.
They're like the fastest thing on the planet for like 10 feet. Go ahead.
It's a funny.
I actually have a real strategy if I'm ever in that case. What I'll do is I'll turn to Kurt and I say, hold on, I gotta put my shoes on. Like, why are you putting your shoes on? You can't outrun that bear. I'm like, no, I just have to outrun you.
Right.
Oh, right. Kurt's like, you tie your shoes, I'm gone. Like, have fun with that. That's awesome.
I'm sorry for the distraction.
No, it's so funny. I mean, this is for humans. This is part of it. So often, I decided this is a skill thing, because we said part of our goal was to have fun, right? And to bring the humanity into this type of thing. Like, okay, DAX is a big thing. We can spend weeks talking about DAX. It's huge. It's all the mathematics, the analytics. It really is it's that semantic layer and it's flexible. It's powerful. It's incredibly performant. And there's so much to talk about with DAX, but that's a hard skill. The soft skill is, explaining why things matter, or, connecting and building relationships along the way. So I think we're accomplishing all of our goals while we talk about polar bears and DAX. Anyway. All right, gentlemen. So data storytelling, this is usually your why. So we have an end product. People come to Power BI. We talked about it. It's for building great, interactive, amazing reports, and also traditional static amazing reports, and also on-premises ones, and also in the cloud ones, flexible. And however your audience needs it delivered, big audience, small team, local team, you can really pick and flex. You could use it as these things as like a collaboration, right? Data storytelling brings us together to talk about and have hard conversations. When we're talking about the value add for a business, it's like, I'll give an example that's really practical. At the mines, we have what we call like frontline meetings at the beginning of every shift. And what'll typically happen is all the operators, so these are your guys running and gals running the trucks, the machines, right? And loaders, drills, all the different things. They're getting ready to go out on their stuff and on their equipment, and they get their assignments. Where do they go? What are their goals? What are their targets? And traditionally, people would print this type of thing out, and somebody in the front might flip, and the super's going to talk about it. And maybe they'll have a PowerPoint up now because it's 2023, and they'll show that, right? But what we've really started to find is this need and demand for monitors that are just showing what's happening in real time all the time, or at least close to it, not far lagging, so that those operators can see what happened on the last shift. What do they need to accomplish? What are the trend lines for their crew versus other crews? They're very competitive in boosting performance. And then managers too, when they're seeing productivity dip, they're not having conversations like, hey, Bill, your productivity is down again. What they can do is point to a monitor with dashboards and all of that information. And these operators, there's no question if it's the truth, because it is. We've vetted it. It's the data. It's coming through. But it's also then it's not me. It's not the supervisor having an issue with Bill. It's, hey, Bill, let's look at this issue together. We're facing it together. That's emotionally intelligent. And we're talking about it. And maybe we're looking at it, and then Bill goes, well, hey, I actually was having a challenge with, machine health. I had downtime. It was unexpected because of XYZ, blah, blah, blah. And you start to put those pieces together from different source systems, different people, those conversations. That's real world productivity. That's the real world business ad. The better we have those conversations, the more on the same page we are, the less true conflict, interpersonal conflict, the better. And so when I talk about data storytelling and the business value, this isn't just like, oh, produce a pretty report. It's like, no, we need people talking about the information. And that's just on the front lines, and which is extremely important. But also for example, it's life and death in my industry. We know there's trends with health and safety. Certain times of the day, certain times of the year, you see an uptick. We're extra vigilant because we know the data's there. We get ahead of it. We talk to our folks. Then that frontline meeting becomes, hey, guys, last year, this time, we saw an uptick. Be vigilant. Look out for your buddies. Go the extra mile, and it really does matter, in a practical sense. So that's the why. All right. And then delivery, I kind of wrapped it up. Did you say something?
I said very good. Very good.
I said good stuff. Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense and brings it to life a little bit, how impactful it is. Delivery, you'll find out pretty quickly if you delivered well or not, right? With reports for yourself and others. When you're learning, your delivery goal should be, I want to accomplish X, Y, Z, and just see if you do it. Delivery for a stakeholder, someone that's paying you, needs to be on time, needs to be in budget, or else no matter how beautiful or gorgeous it is, they're not going to care. And they'll let you know that pretty quickly. And I had talked about this, but I really think it's so incredibly important. That two-way communication, whether it's on the team doing this type of work or whether it is among different teams looking at a report, whether it's between folks like us, mentors, prodigies, all the different things, it's a continuous feedback loop. That's why, I wonder if it's the truth for you guys as well with Power Apps. I hope it is. I'm curious. It's really a major feedback loop in life if you're going to be in this field. And with Power BI in particular, makes it really easy to have that feedback loop. And so we get back to explore. And I'd like to jump in, but I don't want to jump to the demo type part without, saying, hey, is there anything you'd like to say, add? I can go back, anything like that.
Rick, you got any questions?
No. I think this is really good because you were covering a lot of things about why for Power BI, and a lot of people may have that question, and so hey, thanks, Aaron. This is really cool because you're covering a lot of great stuff there.
Yay! I'm glad Yay! Thanks, Rick. I love it. I'm really passionate about this because I've seen it change lives. I really have. Like when I go back to, and that's why I lead with that number one rule. I'm just going to throw it back up for like 2 seconds. It matters that it profits you in your life. Like I've seen people change careers. It's not even uncommon after I do a training, people shift or they take on new projects or they do something because they get a sense of competency and the value is so real. And it translates to value in your pocketbook, and Power Apps do too. All these tools they're monetizable, which is a big deal. There's personal profit and there's obvious professional profit for an organization. All right. So we talked about data discovery. I think just to clarify, can you guys see my whole screen? Because I'm going to jump to Excel. I want to show you.
Yeah.
You can. Not like I hope I picked the right one when I just share the screen. So, All righty, gentlemen. Data discovery. This is some haul truck costing data. So we've got over here, you can see I've got haul truck number is HT. I've got XYZ. This is dummy data. I modified it. I've got order dates and the numbers. So this is basically like machine shop data. So maintenance data. It's probably data that is entered by the maintenance folks, this also could be data from a what's it called, like Oracle or SAP, something like that, because oftentimes they'll integrate those systems together in maintenance because you want costing and you want activities to be tracked side by side. Sometimes they're not, and that's a problem, and that's where Power BI can come in. So if you have your major supply chain systems, your finance systems, and they're not talking to your fleet management or your maintenance systems, we need to integrate that. And so in this case, something like order number, part numbers, unit numbers, those are going to be my primary keys, my foreign keys. I've got here descriptions of the work. I've got failure descriptions. I've got status comments. I'm going to pull back out. And then if I scroll over, here's what's really interesting, at least from the business side, is I've got my start dates, finish dates. I've got hours, right? I've got what business unit this is associated with. And then I've got my costing breakdown. So here I've got labor, warehousing, labor charges, both direct and out external. And then, wait a second, I have total costs. Those don't look like total costs, do they? What do you see? Dates. Like, what's going on here? This is bad data.
Yeah.
what am I going to
Somebody
do?
didn't validate.
Somebody didn't validate. And or I've had this happen. Maybe something in the source system, there was a field that was labeled wrong. And so they took a date field and they thought, oh, I can just cover this up with a new label and people can type things in, and it converted it. I've actually seen that happen in an insurance company. I was like, oh my God.
And that's one of the 90, and that is one of the 90 reasons why we suggest not to do any kind of programming in Excel. No power ups in Excel.
But yet Excel is the tool du jour, right? And so, and I'm not going to disagree that can get fat fingering is such a real issue in the data integrity. It really is. So you look at this, thank God we could tell quickly this is just messed up. The question is, can I work with bad data in Power BI? Yes, you can. Data discovery joy, you can. That's the point. So if we jump over to our desktop, which you can install for free, you do not need a license at all. If you want to get a free license to start, go sign up on the service, and then you can sign in and link, open your desktop, right? And so I'm going to pull this data right in. This Power BI desktop, it's launched, right? It's ready to go. At the bottom, you can see, just to begin, there are pages. It kind of looks like Excel or anything that has the tabs, right? Here, I put what pages I think I would need for this report ultimately. I'm going to want an executive summary. I'm going to want a page for my open pit, my underground, my processing, maintenance. And then look at this thing right here. What is this, huh? I put something funny here. Oh, wait. I forgot. Zoom it the wrong way. Okay, guys, bear with me. You'll have a couple boxes. Hold on. Yeah, that's it. You see which box I'm pointing to. Data discovery. I added a tab, and this is one of my pro tips. Always add a tab for playing, right? You're going to want to visualize, throw your data in, start playing gnarly. In my brain, I have to kind of compartmentalize, like, what is my output as a report and what is my data discovery and my play zone. So this is like my mini sandbox. My tip is that, like, you always want to create your own little sandbox so you can play with. And then if you right click, you can hide it. So the nice thing about Power BI is you can hide pages, you can hide columns, you can hide all kinds of things that you don't want in your end report, but that you may value and need as a developer. So we'll be playing on that page, but just as an example here, when you're starting out, let's say your folks come to you with an idea, you don't need to have everything sorted out. You can prototype using images to convey the idea to your leadership while you're taking time to develop. It's one of the things I like about Power BI. I've been on numerous teams projects where we need to move the development along, but say, for example, our data is not going to be coming through for a while. And so maybe we're using dummy data to prototype. Maybe what I've done is I put pictures on here to give an idea, because depending on whether that project came to you and you already have buy-in and it's assigned, or you're bringing it as a new solution, which it's a great idea. You can be a data leader, a visionary. You want to show, not tell. So what I find is you can use Power BI just as a show, not tell, to show the value before you get the buy-in. So here, for example, and I want to show the function of this, I just added pictures to communicate, right, what's about to come. And this is something that would get executives excited right away. I didn't really do anything. I'm going to show you what I did because this is part of the tool on this first page. All I did was add a picture to the canvas. So if you look over here on the right side, hopefully it's zooming with me, guys. You can see I've got a data view, I've got a build a visual, and I've got this format. Formatting is whether I have a visual selected or if I'm clicked into the canvas. That's what we call the background is the canvas. I'll get all of this stuff called like page information, settings, background. All I have to do here, and I think I sent this picture to you, is go ahead and browse, right? Let me zoom out so I can see. I'm going to add a picture. In this case, for this one, let's see, frontline reporting. What's what we're going to call it? All right. It's just a placeholder for now, but see how easily I could do that. If for example, something I used to do, I'd get into PowerPoint. I would make my backgrounds. I'd put boxes. I'd put where I want like the backgrounds, like the rectangles for the charts, and save those as JPEGs, add them as pictures. And I already have a nice visual framework. I just need to put visuals on top of. Very clean, very easy. Another pro tip, use something like PowerPoint or whatever tool you like to make a picture that will give you that. And there's plenty of ideas online you can look at. But just as a starting point, very easy to add images to start to get flash. We're ultimately, hopefully, going to land on adding a visual here. That's my goal. And we're also going to work in
Hey,
this
Aaron.
tab. Yeah.
Did I had this important phone call I just had to take for a moment or two, but did you just share your secret of how you make your images, because your images look amazing?
Oh, thank you. Yay. I want you to get excited. I love mining so much in data. So thank you. I actually used ChatGPT 4.0. So if you use 3.5, if you're familiar with this, if 3.5 won't make pictures, but I've been training models because I am very visual. Even my PowerPoint, like I don't want to kill them with words. Like, let's talk about it, think about it, and look at it.
You have to send me the links to the GPTs that you use. I do have a subscription. In fact, I buy it for all of my staff members. Yeah. Because it can do so many things. So you have to share your prompts or whatever, because they just look every single slide. I'm like, how does she do that?
Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank you. And no one taught me, and I didn't see a library for it because I kind of went the more artistic way and got like, I was like, I'm going to be intuitive with this. And it worked out pretty well, actually. So I appreciate that. It was a creative test that worked out. Well, let's continue and connect to this haul truck data. I've got some background photos. They're not going to help if they need information. So right up at the top, you can see, just kind of as a preview, because we are touring the tool. I'm in the desktop. It looks familiar. It's Microsoft. I've got a ribbon up here. I've got my home, right? Get data. You can see what I can connect to. I could look at recent sources. There you go. There's my truck cost data. Here's transform data. That's the Power Query editor. I could add visuals, right? Visuals won't show up till you really have data. You can add like an empty space, text boxes, that kind of thing. You can also insert charts, buttons, shapes, images. And then modeling gets into a bit more of your DAX functionality in general. Right here under view, it is important. I actually want to note this before we connect to the data. Not only do you have themes, so your custom branding for your company, which we should do a whole thing on this. It's like one of my biggest passions. You bring your company and your organizational theme in here, or even match to your picture, you're going to look so sharp with whatever you create. And it's very easy and it's reusable. You used to have to make JSON files from scratch. I know, I used to do it. It was not fun. So, but it was good to know. And then up here, this is why I couldn't see it. This is really important under the view tab. I just want you to note this if you're new, because you can accidentally click things on and off. So this shows that it's selected data, format, selection, performance, all these different panes. They're over here. So just let me see if I can draw the picture. So this and this go together, you see, right here under view. And I just like absorb that for a second, because if you go missing your data stuff, or you're like, where's my visuals? That's where it's probably at. You probably accidentally clicked out of there. Don't panic. That's all I'm saying. Don't panic. It's there. And then over in the side, we have what's called the report view. This is what we're looking at. This is sort of the canvas development space. This is how I'm making my data storytelling come to life. Here's what's called the table view. I don't have any data here, but this is where I would see, it would look a lot like Excel basically. And then when I get my tables in here, I'm going to have a model. So you can actually see the relational model and what tables are related, what aren't. It's really a really cool, transparent way to look at what you're doing. Honestly, it's part of the fun, I think. Alrighty, so.
Good stuff. So I know Erin is out in the rural area, and she seems like she's frozen. Is that the same for you, Rick and Kurt?
Yeah.
Let us connect. Get data.
Here we go. Cool.
Oh, spoke too soon.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, you froze up there for about 20 seconds or so, but it seems like you're back now.
I heard you. I am. Okay. Guys, hello. All right. Let's connect to this truck cost data. I already had it open. You know what? I might not be able to open it because it's open here, actually.
I think she's still free. Her image is still freezing up, though.
Is it? Should I turn off my camera?
What? Yeah, that's what I was just going to suggest. Maybe try that.
All righty.
For
10-4.
a little while, anyway.
Actually, your video is fine now, but
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe it's me then. Maybe it's my internet's messing up because she's froze on mine.
Let's just all freeze.
Is the screen frozen though?
The screen is not, but your picture is.
Well, I took myself off. Hopefully it's not when you're making an awkward face. You're like, oh gosh, why did it freeze right there? That's how it always freezes. You know what I mean? I like couldn't. Celebrities always have it bad because they're just kind of like people take pictures of you eating and you're like, oh gosh, stop. All right. Connect to my data. Here I am. First thing that pops up, I've got this navigator, right? And I can preview my data. So let's say I was bringing in multiple tables, or I was connecting to a database and there's just hundreds of tables. No big deal. I can look at them. There'll be icons on the side over here that pretty quickly indicate what type of table it is, right? And so I can pay attention to that and like see if it's the right type of table that I want to use, as well as I can click on it and see it. And if I unclick it, it's not going to unpreview it. But if you couldn't see it, you just select it. Now down at the bottom, I'm going to want to click on transform data because I want to go to that Power Query editor. But otherwise, I could hit load and we could use the data as it is. But I've got some steps I need to take, you know, because we have bad data. All right, is my screen keeping up with me before I launch into my love for Power Query editor?
Yeah, everything's good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So guys, we're in. I just want to say, like, in less than 5 minutes, we're in. I don't know how far we're going to get with visualization, but we're in this far. We've got our data in here. And it looks
that statement I'm in. Whenever you watch a movie and you got a hacker, they just type like for about 3 seconds, like, I'm in. That's what.
Oh yeah. That's how it feels. There should be some sense of glory when you do like little things. I love it. Like, yeah, I'm in. We only have 15 minutes, so I don't want to really get down this, but I think ethical hacking is like, I would love to do ethical hacking. So if somebody on this like hears and they're like, Erin, ping me on LinkedIn. Let me know what the opportunities are, because I think I'd be good at it. Honestly, I think criminal, but I have a conscience. Okay. Well, could I tell and moving on.
Can I tell a 30-second story that is hilarious?
Yeah, do it. Yeah, please.
Back in like 1998, 1999, I was interested in hacking before I got into programming. And I came across this program called Hacker's Paradise. And as long as I could get somebody to click on it, I had full access to the computer. So I went into work. I'm like, Kurt, look at this Hacker's Paradise. You can have total control over somebody's computer, you know? And later that night, I get a voicemail that said, Darren, my computer doesn't work, and you better not be in my computer.
Oh no! Oh, thank God you're good. No, honestly.
The problem with letting people know those kinds of things is the first thing that goes wrong, they're going to look at you. You know what I mean?
Okay, true. Fair. Yeah. Let me retract my, I think, criminally statement. Like, I just mean, you know, you want to find vulnerabilities. So that's all I'm saying.
And there's two thoughts. There's two school of thoughts about hacking. One is there is no such thing as what'd you call that? Ethical hacking. And then the other thing is that everything's a hack. Everything's a hack.
Yeah. Okay. It's very existential. It's like, yeah, that's funny. I can see it. I mean, it's okay, guys, we could just spend the next 15 minutes talking about that because it's so interesting, but I want to, I'm like chomping at my bit.
That's how come Darren's live streams usually go from an hour to 3.
I'm going to redirect us to what we're doing up here. And we're going to do a similar little tour guide. Whoa, look at this. Microsoft has another ribbon at the top and it looks familiar. Oh my goodness, they're consistent. It does. So apply, new source, data settings, manage parameters, all this stuff is great stuff. We did talk about it a little bit in the last video, but this is where your extraction, transformation, loading, ETL, this is where it's at. And it is a GUI. So it's a guided user interface, really a lot of buttons, clicking, happy stuff. But if you click on this advanced editor up at the top here.
That is the hardest button to find, by the way.
It's terrible. It's so small. And it's like, to me, it's one of the most important buttons. Like it should be bright lime green, you know, like maybe not, that'd be ugly, but you know, very noticeable. Power BI yellow at least. So if you look here, just at a glance, you can see all of, and I want to make this connection point. So all of this, I guess I'm zooming in when I do that. Let me see. I'm trying to think, how do I do the text without zooming in? and zoom it. Okay, once again, struggling with the buttons here.
Okay,
This.
You've got zooming.
Wow. I do, but I'm like struggling. Okay, guys, we're not doing this. It just looks ugly.
So hit
Hold on.
hit control and tab after you hit the control 2, and you'll have a nice, beautiful circle. I think it's control tab.
Control tab is that one. Okay.
And then, there's a square.
You're right about that.
I love this tool.
These are.
Yeah, that'll work.
Well, I'm gonna settle with the square because it's in the right place. And it's not as ugly as what I did.
It looks like it's working out for you with the square, so good.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I didn't know there was an oval. I'm gonna actually look that up as soon as we're done. That's pretty cool.
Shift tab or something. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So these advanced editor steps, this is that M code mashup code. These are all containers. These are the applied steps right here on the side. That query settings pane on the right that has the name of my data source as my steps. These are the steps right here. And you can see that #, #, is the name of is in front of the name of the steps listed. So you can see what's happening. And this is a great spot where you can make steps in the GUI and then manipulate or change it in the code to really customize a lot of your functionality. And that's what I find people mostly do rather than just straight typing. Just as a note, sort of like observation.
Incidentally, it's just hold the tab key in. If you hold tab and do that, you'll get your oval.
Okay, let's try this.
Yeah, just do the tab.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just did it. Do you see my oval?
Yep.
It doesn't mean anything, but I did make an oval.
Yep. Okay. There it
is. All righty, guys. We want to take a step here. We have junk data. I've got an extra column, and I've got this. What is this? Time field cost? That's no good. So I've got 2 options up here at the top I can work with. I could remove columns, right? If I do that, it's a permanent step. My suggestion in general is to choose your columns because then you can go and edit the step. That's something I want to talk about. Okay. When you choose columns, I get to go through a pick list and I just deselect them. Yeah. Click OK.
Is there any way to do this without interfering with the persistent data so that you could just like delete the column just for the sake of this? And
I could delete it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not going to change the. So when you say persistent data, you're meaning like it doesn't change anything in the source. This is all saved locally.
When you said permanent, that's probably what scared me and Kurt. And Rick isn't scared of anything, so
no, I just delete it all. Worry about it later.
He's just bring it on. Bring it on.
Rick says now we got less data to worry about.
Exactly.
Oh no.
It just works.
Okay, so there are no. This does not. Power Query Editor does not compute write back at all.
Okay.
It does push back the computational steps back to the source where it can in order to improve performance, but that's a performance thing. What that just means is I want you to do my, select this when we're all upstream so I don't have to do it in memory on my machine. So that's all that means.
So we don't use Power Query Editor to go in and clean up our data to the persistent data. In other words, like if we got a bunch
of not unless correct. It's not a source system editing tool.
Okay.
It is it's a standalone editing tool. So it's really the staging. This is my staging tool.
Okay.
If you think about it for if you're doing enterprise development, you pull this in. So I've got a lake and then I start making my pipelines and I start transforming it. This is the equivalent of that the same way as if it would happen upstream in an architecture, except this is, the business developer side of it. This isn't the enterprise side in Azure, but it's the same principles and concepts, and it definitely does not do write back. And it's not a source system editing tool. That's a great point because I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So here, though, we've kept our columns. I see that I've got hours, unit, labor, all this stuff. These are my cost codes, and these are my prices. I don't actually want the table like this. In analytics, this is a pro tip, you want long tables, not wide tables. And I want to calculate down at down the column across the row. I don't want to be calculating across many, many columns as much as I don't have to. It's not as performant and it's not as flexible ultimately in the visualizations. I can't filter it as easily, for example.
That actually follows rules of normalization too. Don't
exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I can right click because this is Microsoft, and I can also go up at the top, right? So I could pivot up here. If I go to my transform step, this is where I'll see unpivoting, which is actually, I don't want to pivot, I want to unpivot, but I can right click as well. Microsoft, you can right click and you can go up to the top. So I'm going to unpivot these. And what I basically did up here was I ended up creating what is my actual cost, right? Those are my numbers. And then here's my cost codes, for example.
So I'm sorry, Aaron, you kind of went fast for me. And I'm the
No
kind of
worries.
guy you got to draw pictures on. Can we go backwards a little bit and do that? Because
Yeah.
so because you started messing with these pivot tables.
Yep.
I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah.
Okay. So
no worries. So I can take it back. Watch this. I'm going to take back that step I just did.
Okay.
And I'm going to take back the unpivot step. Bada bing, bada boom.
Sorcery.
Easy peasy. Sorcery. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So now that warehouse stock, is that a pivot table?
No, so nothing within this is a table within a table.
Okay.
This is just straightforward reporting. So however it organized it, when it came out of the source system, they basically took cost codes and put them across the top as column headers. That's just how they organized it. But for my sake, because I'm going to want to do analytics, I'm going to want to make this a long table. So all I did was on pivot. So what happens is up at the top here, actually,
I guess what you got me messed up on is this unpivot. Because as soon as you said that, I'm thinking, now we got a pivot table. We're looking at some data from another source. So
no, yeah, that's fair. So it's not.
What are you talking about? Thank you.
That's a good question. Yeah. So pivoting and unpivoting a table in and of itself, it's kind of something you almost have to visualize with a picture in your brain on a data table. You're taking the columns up at the top, the labels, and you're transposing them into a single column. And then all the values for that column are then associated line by line correctly as a secondary column as the value. So pivoting and unpivoting is where I'm trying to think of how
you're basically stacking these into one column, and then
that's exactly right.
And then you're associating. You got another column off to the right of that that's going to tell you the label.
It's automatically.
It's going to tell you the label.
They're automatic. Yep.
So
what happens is these labels at the top become my data.
Yeah.
So now I know for a fact that labor right here at this row, for example, this 95, instead of it being labor, the column labor with the row 95,
it's going to be
it will now become a new column that says, here's labor.
Yep.
And then the 95 will go next to it with all the correct data associated.
So you'll have a row that's going to show labor and a row. I'm sorry. You're going to have a bunch of rows that show labor.
Yep.
And then a bunch of rows that show warehouse stock. Right.
Yep.
So,
okay.
So you're going to have that pivot table means you're going to have a description. Those field descriptions are going to be in a column of themselves.
Yes.
I'm with you.
That's exactly right. They move from column headers to field descriptions. And then I can work with the data a lot more easily because I'm running a calculation on one column and I'm able to filter by that field description. Right. Yeah. And I can combine, I can mix and match. So it's a lot more flexible in terms of
that's pretty smooth, man. You know what? I'm going to do that with Power Apps. So I think that's a cool trick when you're shaping data. When you're shaping data to make that thing long, when you got a whole bunch of stuff going across.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna create my own pivot table function. That's going to be decent. Ooh. And remember, people pay big money for this.
That's it. You said it. Build your skills, guys. There's profitability.
I'm learning here, Aaron. Old dog new tricks. Old dog new tricks here.
I love it. Me too. I'm a middle-aged dog learning all kinds of tricks.
Rick, do you have a quote from Best in Show? Come on, man.
Oh, you know about?
I know you've seen that.
Oh, the best thing about model trains is that's how they know how to build the big trains.
Have you seen the mockumentaries, Aaron, that are out there? A Mighty Wind, Best in Show. What are the
Waiting
others?
For Guffman.
I got to watch that one.
Oh, yeah. That was about community theater.
Oh, you got to send me some of that. I love that kind of thing. Brian Knight was always in that. He always had the funniest
mascots on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's about team mascots.
Oh, that sounds funny. I love it. I'd be interested.
Okay.
All right. Oh, Jen, we're at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
Should I probably wrap it up here? Because I do have a stop. I budgeted about an hour. So we're not as far as I want to be. So I will say this is where we've gotten.
See, it's not about that though. It's about learning what you got. So we got to get down. We got to get this down good.
Okay, so you're comfy. You're not like, oh, Aaron, we didn't get that far. Hey guys, I'm going to show myself to wrap up because I remember
Yeah.
what you said before. Hello. So we've been in data discovery. We're going to keep going with data discovery. We have talked about Loop's requirements because this is, and we are really here in the Power Query Editor. Although we've reviewed other things, where I'd like to go after this once we're done is going to be DAX. If our next lunch learn we just want to kind of pick up, then we'll get into this.
Absolutely.
Because it's about another hour.
This
probably.
is great.
Cool. And there's some more functions I wanted to show you. Just real quick, one more cool thing. So we talked about transformation. Well, what if I don't like my data like this? Like, look at that. I might not. I actually kind of do because it indicates it's standard. And at a glance, I don't want, this is the wrong way. I don't want mechanics typing in what's going on. I don't want anyone doing that, but I definitely don't want mechanics doing it. I don't want myself doing it. But so these look standard, everything's spelled correctly, but it's all capital letters. What if I wanted this differently? What if I wanted it to be lowercase? What if I wanted to trim it or clean it, right? What if I wanted to change it? What if I want to replace values, split the column? All of these amazing transformation things, they are all available to me very easily. So let's say I make this lowercase, which I don't think I really would want to do that, but I can do it. Easy breezy, right? And that's an Excel thing. That's not like, so uncommon, but data cleanup starts to become faster and faster. And where this becomes a benefit is I've got this haul truck sheet. Well, what if I get this every week and it's an ongoing thing? I can automate this. All those steps I did become saved here. And I just have to parameterize my source and I update it to the new file quickly, easily. And if it's the same structure of the table, all those steps they're reusable. So that's the value, is that tedious work of perfectionism, cleaning it up. I want it the right way. Well, it's reusable in Power BI. That's one of the big profit aspects is your work isn't wasted, right? That's the note I want to end on. That's a little note.
Oh, I would like to put another end note on your end note.
Yeah. Yeah.
We mean nothing bad to mechanics anywhere. We love mechanics. And
I'm in that field. Yeah.
Whenever I bring my car in, I don't want any mechanic that saw this to say, I seen that
fair.
live show. They don't want no mechanics working in this data.
No. So, I'll clarify. I'm the daughter of a handyman. I'm blue collar. Like my roots are blue collar. Like my first little jobs were sorting like screws and bolts and nuts and like all the in big 5-gallon buckets, like in painting. Like I'm blue collar. I don't spell that well. So I probably should just use myself as an example. Like I flip words. Fat fingering happens with everybody, but but when your focus and your skill set is doing the work itself on machines, it's not your primary target to be like a perfect speller with things capitalized. Like you're moving on because you want to fix the machine so everybody is up and running. That shouldn't be your focus. So as data people, we need to factor in like the ease of use for things, right? And make it foolproof. I shouldn't put the burden for clean data on operators. I should never put the burden for clean data on operators where I can avoid that. But that's fair. I appreciate.
For some reason, YouTube thinks you're going to like this video next. Let's see if they're right. Or you can select this playlist, which I've selected for you based on the content you're currently watching. Guys, gotta hurry, click one of them. Otherwise, YouTube's gonna autoplay some other video, which you probably don't want.